African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command and combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing. On the progress of the special military operation as of February 26, 2026. Last night, in response to the terrorist attacks launched by the Kiev regime against civilian infrastructure facilities on the territory of Russia, the armed forces of the Russian Federation delivered a mass strike by ground and air-based long-range precision weaponry and attack unmanned aerial vehicles at Ukrainian defense industry enterprises, power infrastructure objects used by the armed forces of Ukraine, and military airfields. The goals of the strike were achieved. All the assigned targets were engaged. Units of the North Group of Forces took more advantageous lines and positions. Losses were inflicted on formations of one mechanized brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and two territorial defense brigades near Lugovka, Senoye, and Pokrovka in the Sumy region. In Kharkiv region, losses were inflicted on units of three mechanized brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and one National Guard brigade near Staraya Pokrovka, Sirkuni, Veseloye, and Noteworthy in the Kharkiv region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine losses amounted to up to 175 troops, 8 motor vehicles, 1 field artillery gun, and 1 electronic warfare station. 2 materiel depots were destroyed. The West Group of Forces improved the tactical situation. Losses were inflicted on manpower and hardware of 4 mechanized brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and 1 National Guard brigade near Palomarevka, Monakinovka, Blagodatovka, Novosinovo, Grushevka in the Kharkov region, and Mayaki in the Donetsk People's Republic. The Armed Forces of Ukraine losses amounted to up to 170 troops, 2 armored fighting vehicles including 1 US-made M113 armored personnel carrier, 16 motor vehicles, 1 artillery gun, and 1 electronic warfare station. 4 field ammunition depots were eliminated. The South Group of Forces improved the tactical situation along the front line. Losses were inflicted on formations of 4 mechanized brigades, 1 assault brigade, 1 mountain assault brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and 1 special operations brigade near Reznikovka, Nikiforovka, Konstantinovka, Drushkovka, and Alexeyevo-Drushkovka in the Donetsk People's Republic. The Armed Forces of Ukraine losses amounted to up to 125 troops, 7 armored fighting vehicles, 13 motor vehicles, and 1 electronic warfare station. 2 ammunition depots and 1 materiel depot were eliminated. The Center Group of Forces took more advantageous lines and positions. Losses were inflicted on manpower and hardware of 1 mechanized brigade, 1 infantry brigade, 2 Jaeger brigades, 1 airmobile brigade, 1 assault brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, 1 Marine brigade, and 3 National Guard brigades near Torskoye, Kucherov Yar, Belitskoye, Sergeyevka, Dobropolye in the Donetsk People's Republic, Novopavlovka, Novopodgorodnoye, Gavrilovka, Podgavrilovka, and Rypol in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine losses amounted to up to 270 troops, 3 armored fighting vehicles, 13 motor vehicles, and 3 electronic warfare stations. 1 ammunition depot was destroyed. The East Group of Forces continued advancing into the depth of enemy defense. Losses were inflicted on formations of 2 mechanized brigades, 2 air assault brigades, 5 assault brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and 1 territorial defense brigade near Malinovka, Dobropasovo, Kirichkovo in the Dnipropetrovsk region, Lyubitskoye, Zelenaya Dibrova, Mirnoye, Orly, Vozdvijevka, Lesnoye, and Kopany in the Zaporozhye region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine losses amounted to up to 340 troops, 1 tank, 4 armored fighting vehicles, 6 motor vehicles, and 1 artillery gun. Units of the Dnieper Group of Forces inflicted losses on manpower and hardware of 1 mountain assault brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine near Dimitrovo and Sherbaki in the Zaporozhye region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine losses amounted to more than 35 troops, 10 motor vehicles, and 1 ammunition depot. operational tactical aviation, attack unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the armed forces of the Russian Federation struck pre-flight check and launch sites of unmanned aerial vehicles, as well as temporary deployment areas of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 159 areas. Air defense units shot down 2 guided aerial bombs and 136 fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the beginning of the special military operation, the enemy has lost 670 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 117,435 unmanned aerial vehicles, 651 anti-aircraft missile systems, 27,890 tanks and other armored fighting vehicles, 1,674 MLRS combat vehicles, 33,490 field artillery guns and mortars, 55,322 support military vehicles. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.